Hello, miners and crafters and Steam Deckers. My name is Joey Day, and I am here to show you how to make a killer controller layout for Minecraft on the Steam Deck. If I have to be honest with you, just between you and me, since I've had my Steam Deck for about a week and a half, I've spent more time just customizing the controls in Minecraft than I have actually, playing the game. So I've been having a ton of fun just setting this up, and hopefully I'll be able to get to playing the game soon. But what I want to do first is just show you guys how to make an awesome controller layout for Minecraft. Boy, the Steam Deck just has a dizzying array of customizable settings for the controller inputs. So yeah, let me be your guide. Let me show you some tips and tricks I've found along the way, and hopefully just inspire you to make an awesome layout of your own. Before I start, I want to give a shout out to some awesome YouTube videos already out there. I'm not going to show you how to install Minecraft today because there's some awesome videos out there already that will teach you how to do that. So I want to shout out Tomba, and I want to shout out Liam over at a channel called Gaming on Linux, and I want to shout out Gardner Bryant. All three of these guys have awesome guides on how to install Minecraft. Tomba will show you how to install a third-party client called GD Launcher, and Liam and Gardner in their videos will show you how to install PolyMC. I'm using PolyMC, and I can vouch for the reliability and performance of PolyMC, but GD Launcher appears to be just as capable as PolyMC. Looks like it has a real similar feature set, so I don't think you can go wrong with either of the third-party launchers. So check out those guys' videos if you want to learn how to install it. In particular, I really like, there's a section that Tomba has in his video about how to get artwork looking nice in the Steam library, and he's also got a section of his video about another mod called Controllable, which gives you better support for controllers in general and also the Steam Deck controller. I tried to get that mod working, and I could not get it working. So everything I'm going to show you here today is going to be about just the native controls on the Steam Deck, not controllable. But check out Tomba's video if you want to learn more about that. So, and one more shout out. I want to give a shout out to Liger Gaming. This poor gentleman living out in Australia cannot get his grubby little hands on a Steam Deck. Dude, I hope you're excited. You know, his videos are kind of just speculating. Will Minecraft run on the Steam Deck? Will it not? And dude, I hope you're excited about some of the videos that are out already, showing off Minecraft running so well on the Steam Deck. And man, I wish you the best of luck getting your hands on a Steam Deck yourself. All right, without further ado, let's talk about how to customize our controls, starting with the thumbsticks. Okay, when you're in any Steam game, you can always access your controller settings by just going to the Steam menu. And you'll either get this view where you see all the controls and you can get to the controller settings from this button at the bottom, or you'll get this menu here, and you can go into View Game Details, and this little controller icon over here will get you into the very same place. So the way I started customizing my keyboard layout is I just went into here, and there's these templates that are provided by Valve, and there's one down here for keyboard, WASD, and mouse, which is how you control Minecraft. So that seemed like the most logical place to start laying down a foundation for my layout. So let's go ahead and edit this. I want to start with joysticks. So the template just has the right joystick set up as a joystick mouse and the left joystick as a directional pad. And so I kept that settings. I want to also give one more shout out. Now, all these shout outs are going to be in the description below, so check out if you've got some time to watch these other videos. But there's a guy named Critical Composer who has a channel called Critical Input, and he's got a great series on that channel called Steam Input Essentials. And this was back when the Steam controller was big, and he taught in this series how to set up all these settings for the Steam controller. These settings are very similar for the Steam Deck, so even though the Steam controller's been discontinued, his videos are still very useful. I hope he revives his channel now that the Steam Deck is out. But I was having a problem with my left analog stick. When I would push it in a direction, sometimes it just wasn't registering that I was pushing it in that direction. And I think what was happening was it was thinking that I was pushing either W and S or A and D at the same time. And of course, when you try to press in two directions at once, it's just not going to work. Your character's not going to move. After madly Googling, I found this Critical Input channel, and this guy taught me that you can set up different directional pad layouts in here. And by default, it's set to 8-way overlap. But Critical Composer taught me that Crossgate does a better job of debouncing extra inputs. And so I tried it, and it solved my problem instantly. So if you're having the same problem, and if this solves your problem, you can thank Critical Composer for that little tidbit of wisdom. Okay, with that out of the way, I want to show you a very special thing I've got set up down here called an outer ring command. And I've got mine set to the control key, which if you play Minecraft, you know that's the sprint key. So let me show you what this outer ring command does. Basically what it means is that as long as I am only pushing the stick a little bit, then I'm not going to be holding the control key down. But if I push the stick all the way to the outer ring, instantly now I'm sprinting. Because it's now holding the control key and it's sending that along with W, A, S, and D. As soon as I let go, I can start to walk again and then sprint. So very useful command. But what if I'm doing something where I just never want to sprint? Maybe I'm mining or I'm doing some building or something and I want to be able to move around without sprinting. I can toggle that on and off using something called an action set layer. I'm going to use action set layers a lot, so it's worth showing them to you right away. Okay, so action layers can be configured right down here in action sets. So if I go down to the very bottom, you'll see I've got 3 action set layers. Now, if you add an action set, it'll create another set like the default set. And that is a way of remapping all of the controls on your controller at once. And you can have a button somewhere on the controller that just toggles to a completely different action set. An action set layer, though, is like a layer on top of your current action set that might only remap 1 or 2 of the buttons on that action set. So you can set that up inside this little gear here. You can say add a layer, right? And so I've created 3 action set layers that we'll talk about. I've named them according to the button that I'm going to use to activate them. So L3 is clicking in on the left stick. So this is the layer that is going to activate when I click in on my left stick. And then you can cycle between the different layers right up here, L1 and R1, to just cycle between viewing the layers. So now I'm looking at my L3 layer. Let me go back to Joysticks. So you can see that my L3 click is going to add action set layer. This is just something you can come in here and customize. It's going to add the action set layer L3. And if I scoot over to L3, you can see that now when I'm in layer L3, the click is going to remove that action set layer. So this left click, click in on the stick, is going to add and remove the action layer. So it's like a toggle, right? And what does this layer do? Well, about the only thing I have configured in the L3 layer is this down here. I've got the outer ring command just cleared from the parent. So if I want to be able to walk without sprinting, I just click in on the stick, and now I can push this all the way to the outer ring and I'm not sprinting. And click it again, and now I'm sprinting again. So this is really the best of both worlds. I can still walk and sprint anytime I want without having to toggle it on and off. But then if I need to, I can still toggle it on and off. So I think that's it for joysticks. Next is the trackpads. Okay, for trackpads, I've just got the right trackpad, and again, this was part of the layout, set up as a mouse, and the click of the right trackpad will be a left mouse click. Now, you ask me, why do I need both a joystick mouse and a right trackpad mouse? Well, in practice, the sensitivity on the joystick mouse is a lot higher, so I can be twitchier and flip around if I'm getting chased or whatever. I can be more responsive with the joystick mouse. I tend to, if I'm moving around in the world, especially sprinting, the right thumbstick seems to work the best for just controlling the camera generally. But as soon as I decide I want to target a specific block, maybe I want to trim the grass a little here, I will almost always get to the right trackpad here. And that's a lot more precision for like pointing my crosshair at something specific, maybe breaking a block, maybe placing a block. I also use it when I'm in my inventory. So when I'm in my inventory interacting with individual blocks, I'm going to use the right trackpad. So I've also got, again, another action set layer. This action set layer is mapped to the R5 button, which is one of the back grip buttons. And I've got it set to change the trackpad to a middle click. So if I'm holding that button, I can middle click, and I just did a pick block. And so now I can just place that grass right back where I broke it. Okay, so that's the right trackpad. And let me show you something really cool that I do with the left trackpad. So I learned this from a community template, or a community layout, rather. This one by Get Clapson. I downloaded that one and played around with it, and you can see right here he says, with items radial. What is an item radial? Well, and I'll show you in my layout. Under the trackpads, you can set up either trackpad to be a radial menu, and then you can just set up as many buttons as you want. And you can see I'm using buttons 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 1. There's a reason why I put 1 at the bottom, and I'll show you that in a second, but let me show you how cool a radial menu is. So if I am tapping my thumb on the trackpad, not yet clicking, but just holding my thumb, up you'll see pops this little radial menu, and it is the coolest thing ever. I can use this to literally just click and pick, pick from my hotbar, basically. So you can see the first button appears here in the top slot, and then they go around clockwise. And that's why I put 2 at the top and 1 at the very end, because I like to have 1, 2, and 3 little buddies right here at the top. I find it really convenient, and I've started to develop some muscle memory around this to just grab my golden carrots in slot 9, or go right back to my pick in slot 1. You don't have to hold in the middle and move out. It's not like a swipe motion. You can literally just tap right around the outside, and you'll get to know where the different numbers are after you've had this configured for a little while. Now you can think of all sorts of things you could do with a radial menu in conjunction with action sets. I haven't played with that at all, but you could map as many controls as you want to a radial menu. And it's a really cool feature of the Steam Deck. Something that's so unique. I don't know any other controller that can do that other than the Steam controller, I guess. But okay, let's move on to buttons. Let's talk about buttons, starting with the triggers. So pretty typical controller layout for Minecraft. The right trigger is going to be my attack destroy button, and the left trigger is going to be my use or place button. This feels really natural. If you've got a tool in your right hand, you can use the tool with your right trigger, and then you can eat food or something in your left hand with the left trigger. So I think that's why it's pretty much the standard for all controller layouts. Let's talk about face buttons. I use the A button to jump. And then in a typical controller layout, the B button will be the sneak button, but then it behaves contextually on consoles, where it's sneak when you're in the game, but then when you go to a menu, it acts as an escape button instead of a cancel button. I need that cancel button so that when I'm inside of menus and I'm deep down in, I can cancel my way back out. So I put the sneak button on X. On a traditional controller layout, on consoles anyway, the X button gets you into the crafting menu, but in Java Edition, there's no difference between the crafting menu and the inventory menu, and so I just have one inventory button, and that's the Y button. So let me show you what I've done with the bumpers, because I think it's kind of unique. The bumpers in a typical controller layout will do scroll up and scroll down, which will move you back and forth in your inventory. But I like to have, and I'll show you why, I have my, my right bumper mapped to the jump command and my left bumper mapped to sneak. And typically when you're using a controller, you will use something called auto jump. And that will auto jump you up and down hills, right? But here, I hate auto jump in Java Edition. So rather than have to take my thumb off of the right thumbstick and jump all the time, I like to have the bumper available to me. So I can go up hills using the bumper, and I can still control my camera, right? Same with sneak. I like to be able to bridge across gaps and still control my camera while I'm placing blocks and sneaking. Now, this is also super useful when you're in your inventory because shift in the inventory will move a whole stack, maybe up into a chest or even just, up and down here in your hotbar. And having that shift button up here is super useful, so I don't have to, try to hit 2 things at once with my right thumb. So that's why I have the bumpers mapped the way I do. I still have scroll up and scroll down available to me because I've mapped them to L4 and R4, which are the 2 back grip buttons. So I can still pretty easily move up and down in even though I've also got the radial menu that I can use to get directly to hotbar slots. Okay, let me show you what I've done with sneak, because I feel like this is really clever what I've done. I don't like to play the game with sneak toggle activated at all times, but it's nice to have if you're bridging across lava or across the void in the end, to be able to toggle sneak on and off, especially with a controller where I feel a lot less confident than I do with mouse and keyboard that I'm gonna not, jump into the lava pit or something. So I have come up with a way to toggle sneak that I think is pretty clever. Now, first of all, there is a feature of the Steam Deck that you can make any key toggle a command on and off. So here in the settings, you can go down and you can make it toggle that command on and off. So I could have used this to just have a special key somewhere, maybe on my R5 action set layer, that just toggles sneak on, right? But the problem with that, and if you've been, if you just thought of it with me, when we were in the inventory, remember I was using the shift key to move things up and down in my inventory. If I use this toggle to toggle shift on, and then while I'm sneaking, I try to use my inventory, that's gonna kind of mess with the way I'm using my inventory, right? So this is a non-starter. So instead what I did is, I did go into my game settings and I turned sneak toggle on. And then I have this thing right here. Now this is called an extra command, and I have to give a shout out to, there is a guy named Bill over at Nerd Nest who has a great video on extra commands and subcommands. By the way, he's also got a great video on action set layers, which you should definitely check out to learn more about action set layers. But right inside this gear, there is an add extra command, and you can use that to get, that's how I have 2 copies of the X button here. And then inside of any command, there's this activation, and normally it's set to regular press, but you've got all these options. You've got a double press, a long press, and then you've got these start and release press. So you can use this to send one command when you start pressing a button and send a different command when you release a button. But in this case, I want to send the same command. I just want to send it twice, once when I'm pushing on the button and again when I release the button, right? That's going to have the effect of toggling sneak on and right back off. And so I can play the game with sneak toggle turned on, and yet my sneak button behaves like a normal sneak button. But then over on my R5 action set layer, my X button sends a single shift key, and that will have the effect of toggling sneak on. So let me show you how that works. Here I am, and I can sneak with just pressing the button or my bumper button as I showed you. And then if I want to toggle it on, I just hold R5, which is again the back grip button, and then I press it, and now I have it toggled on. And so now I can sneak, and I don't have to worry about jumping off this ledge until I deactivate it. Now I can jump down. Pretty cool stuff, yeah, it's the best of both worlds, really. I don't have to keep toggle sneak turned on, but it's there when I need it. So, all right, I think that's it for buttons. Let's talk about the D-pad next. All right, D-pad. Let me show you how I've got my D-pad configured. So in normal Bedrock Edition Minecraft with a controller, down on the D-pad is usually to chuck out an item, the drop item command. And then up is usually to toggle perspective. You've seen me do that a few times in this video already. Hi there. And then right on the D-pad usually brings up chat. And I had a clever idea that not only could I bring up chat, but I could also bring up the keyboard at the same time. So it's a little problematic, as you can see. I can't actually see where chat is, but if I'm careful not to make any typos, I can actually type out a chat message, and there it is. So not too bad. But left on the D-pad in Bedrock Edition is usually the emote command, and Java Edition doesn't have emotes, so I needed a place to put the command to move an item into your offhand, and that's the F key. So I put it here. Makes sense on the left of the D-pad since it's moving something into my left hand. It's also useful to have it over here. I was toying with putting the F key somewhere over here at first, and I realized when I'm in my inventory, I use F a lot to move items into my left hand or out of my left hand into an inventory slot. And so having it over here on the left is nice because I can keep my right thumb on the trackpad and have my left thumb activate the F key, right? Also, Q is nice to have over here on the left, serendipitously. You can use it to chuck items out of your inventory when you're in inventory. And speaking of Q, I've also configured another part of my R5 action set layer to drop all of the items. So if I've got these items on my hotbar, I can drop all of them with R5 and down on the D-pad. Now, how did I do that? If you know your Minecraft shortcuts, you know that Control Q will drop a whole stack of items. And so I just configured in my R5 action set, I just configured down on the D-pad to send Control and Q. But let me show you a little snafu that I hit with this. If you just configure it the way you see it here, and again, I just used the add extra command feature so that I could get two down on the D-pad commands. If you just set it up like this, it still will only chuck one item out. I had to go in and set a very obscure setting, which is this fire start delay. I had to set that to 1 millisecond. At first I was trying higher values like 5 milliseconds and 10 milliseconds, and when I realized that it had solved the problem, I throttled it all the way down to 1, and it still works fine. I guess 1 millisecond is long enough to convince the game that I really am sending Control first and then Q. I've got lots of other shortcuts like this where I'm pressing two keys at the same time, and I'll show some of them to you later, but all of them are configured that same way with a fire start delay of 1 millisecond. So, yeah, I think that's it for the D-pad. Let me show you something really cool next. I'm so excited to show you this next feature. So, the Steam Deck has a gyro in it, and if you've been following any of the Steam Deck news, much has been made of using the gyro for aiming in first-person shooters. I use the gyro to aim my bow. So the way you do it is you set it up as a mouse right here, and then in the settings you go into gyro here on the left, and you have a gyro enable button, and I have mine set to a left trigger full pull, which is the trigger that you pull when you're aiming your bow, right? So, get my bow out here, and I can show you as I pull on the left trigger, you can see my gyro activates, and now, I wish I had a good target to point at, but now I'm aiming with my trigger and I can just let an arrow fly, right? If I want to hit something in particular, boom. Oh, this is so much fun, you guys. It's so much more natural than trying to aim. Now I can also aim with the right mouse, either the trackpad or the stick. But gyro aiming is just super useful. The first time I used it to escape from, a skeleton or a zombie, it was just the best. So that is just a super fun feature. The problem with it is that I also get a gyro effect when I'm eating, which is kind of a fidget for me when I'm eating. My son also pointed out when he tried this layout a little bit, he pointed out that when you're placing blocks and holding down the left trigger, you also get the gyro effect. I might have to rethink using the button that I'm using for activating the gyro effect, but I really do think it's a fun, and not just fun but useful way to aim when you're firing a bow or a crossbow. So, all right, well, let's just talk about a few more things and then I'll wrap up. Well, everyone, I hope I've excited you about the endless possibilities of configuring your own controller layout in Minecraft on the Steam Deck. Just at the end here, I want to show you a few more of the button mappings that I've selected. These are so subjective, I think, to my own little cocktail of mods and my own play style. So I'm not going to tell you where you should put these on your controller layout, but hopefully this just inspires you to come up with a cool layout of your own. So, for example, in one of my action sets, I have a button to bring up the advancements screen. I can also bring up the social interactions screen, which is only available in multiplayer. If you play a lot of server Minecraft and you need to block people occasionally, that's where you go to do that. I've also got my mini-map, waypoints, and my world map mapped to buttons. I also have, I'm using Tweakaroo. If you're familiar with Optifine, you've got a zoom key in Optifine. I'm using Tweakaroo for the same thing, and I just have that mapped to a stick click here. And then, let's see, what else do I have? Oh, I've got a whole L5 layer that I haven't even shown you guys yet, but I use L5 for all of the sort of debug options in Minecraft. So F3 is up here, which is a little overwhelming because of the low resolution of the deck. I also use Mini HUD, which is a lot less obtrusive and just puts the information I care about up there. I can turn on hitboxes and chunk borders with keys. Yeah, I can pretty much do everything that you can do with a keyboard and mouse in regular Java Edition Minecraft. And that is why, I think action set layers are so awesome. You can really map all of your buttons and then map them all over again using a modifier key. So rather than just having the, 15 or 20 buttons here, you can really have 45, 60 different buttons. And so there's just endless possibilities here with what you can do on the Steam Deck, and I just I'm here for it. I love it. That's why I've sunk so much time into this controller layout and not playing the game. But hopefully now that I've passed this information along to you, I'll be able to get in and start mining and crafting on my own. And I wish all of you happy mining and crafting, and hopefully this makes it a little easier for you to play such a great game on the Steam Deck. Yeah, thanks guys. See ya.